The wind howled like a betrayed lover as Terry slammed the door behind him, the echo swallowed by the swirling snow that bit into his skin like 1,000 tiny accusations. "You're no son of mine." His father's voice thundered in his ears, the words heavier than the backpack slung over his shoulder, stuffed with nothing but regrets and a crumpled photo of the family that had just shattered. In that frozen instant on the stoop of their Brooklyn brownstone, Terry realized love could freeze faster than the Hudson River, leaving him adrift in a whiteout of isolation. The city that never sleeps felt like it had dozed off just to spite him. Flurries danced mockingly around the street lamps of Park Slope, turning the familiar sidewalks into alien terrain. Terry's breath came in ragged gasps, fogging the air as he stumbled forward, his thin jacket no match for the December chill that seeped into his bones. He was 22, fresh out of community college with dreams of graphic design gigs in Manhattan. But tonight, those dreams curdled like milk left too long on the fire escape. His coming out raw, desperate, over a lukewarm Thanksgiving turkey, hadn't been the triumphant scene from those indie films he binged on rainy afternoons. No, it had been a detonation. His mother's silent tears, his father's red-faced roar about God's plan and family values. His little sister frozen in the corner, too scared to even whisper goodbye. He'd packed in a haze, stuffing hoodies and sketchbooks into his bag while his father bellowed scripture from the living room. "Get out and don't come back until you've fixed this abomination." The door had clicked shut like a guillotine, and now the snow erased his footprints as if he'd never existed. Terry wiped his nose on his sleeve, tasting salt, tears, or snot. He couldn't tell, and wondered if he'd freeze before he hit the subway. The A train to anywhere but here. But his phone buzzed in his pocket, a lifeline he almost ignored. A text from his ex, Jamie. "Heard what happened. Crash on my couch?" Terry's thumb hovered, heart twisting. Jamie, with his easy smile and wandering eyes, the one who'd ghosted him after a summer fling turned too real. No. Pride, or what was left of it, won out. He powered off the phone, shoving it deep into his pocket like burying a secret. Blocks blurred into a white haze. His sneakers squelched through slush, each step heavier, until his legs gave out on a bench outside a shuttered coffee shop. The sign above read "Brood Awakening, closed for the holidays," a cruel joke. Terry huddled there, knees to chest, watching families bundled against the cold, laughing as they piled into Ubers, their warmth a knife in his gut. He thought of Christmases past. His mom's gingerbread houses, his dad's off-key carols, the way Gerald, the family friend who'd fixed their leaky roof last spring, would show up with pies from his bakery job, his deep laugh filling the house like bass notes. Gerald, with his salt and pepper beard and calloused hands that spoke of honest work, had always been the Uncle Terry wished he had. Steady. Kind. Unflinching. A fresh gust rattled the bench, and Terry shivered violently, his teeth chattering like castanets in a bad musical. He pulled out the photo from his bag, creased now, the edges fraying. Him at 16, arms around his parents at Coney Island, the cyclone looming behind like a promise of thrills. Gone. All gone. Sobs racked him, hot and futile against the cold, until headlights pierced the flurry, a battered Ford pickup grinding to a halt at the curb. The driver's side door creaked open, and a figure emerged, broad-shouldered in a parka dusted white. "Terry, that you, kid?" The voice was gravelly, laced with that South Carolina drawl that always made Terry's mom smile. Gerald. Of all the saints in Brooklyn, it had to be him. Terry blinked up, snowflakes melting on his lashes. Gerald stood there, mid-40s, his dark skin glowing under the streetlight, a wool beanie pulled low over close-cropped hair. He was the janitor at the community center where Terry had volunteered last year, the one who'd taught him how to patch drywall and swap out fluorescent bulbs without cursing the wiring. "What in the hell are you doing out here? It's a damn blizzard comin'." Terry tried to speak, but only a choke escaped. Gerald's eyes, deep brown, steady as oak, narrowed, taking in the backpack, the red-rimmed eyes. Without a word, he shrugged off his parka and draped it over Terry's shoulders, the fabric heavy with the scent of pine cleaner and fresh-baked bread. "Come on. Can't have you tunnin' into a popsicle on my watch." The truck's heater blasted like a furnace as Gerald cranked it up, the dashboard rattling with old cassette tapes of Motown. Terry clutched the parka like a shield, mumbling fragments. The dinner, the outburst, the door. Gerald listened without interrupting, his jaw set like he was chewing on the injustice. "Your folks. They got their Bibles twisted round their fears sometimes. Don't make it right." He pulled out onto the avenue, wipers slapping rhythmically. "You got someplace to go?" Terry shook his head, staring at the wipers like they held answers. "Nowhere that wants me." Gerald grunted, a sound that could mean anything from agreement to plotting revenge. They drove in silence, the city unfolding in smears of light, bodegas glowing neon, fire escapes strung with icicles, the distant wail of a siren. Finally, Gerald turned onto a side street in Bed-Stuy, where row houses huddled like old friends. He killed the engine outside a modest two-story, its stoop cleared of snow, a single strand of Christmas lights twinkling in the window like a hesitant invitation. "This here's my place," Gerald said, killing the engine. "Nothing fancy, but it's dry. And warm." He hopped out, grabbing Terry's bag before he could protest, and led the way up the steps. The key turned with a satisfying click, brass, worn smooth from years of use, and as the door swung open, a wave of heat enveloped them, carrying scents of cinnamon and aged wood. Inside, the living room was a testament to a life pieced together with care. Mismatched furniture from thrift hauls, bookshelves sagging under paperbacks and how-to manuals, a faded quilt draped over the couch. Photos dotted the mantel, Gerald with a younger man, arms slung around each other at a beach, kids in graduation caps, probably nieces and nephews, a black and white of a stern woman in nurse's scrubs, his mama, no doubt. Terry stood frozen in the doorway, the weight of the night crashing down anew. "Shoes off," Gerald ordered gently, kicking his own boots into a corner. "Ain't trackin' that mess in here." He flicked on a lamp, casting golden pools across the hardwood, then busied himself in the kitchen, a galley affair with formica counters and a fridge humming softly. Minutes later, he returned with 2 mugs of cocoa, marshmallows bobbing like buoys. "Sit. Drink. Then we'll talk." Terry sank into the couch, the cushions yielding like an embrace. The cocoa burned his tongue, sweet and grounding, chasing away the numbness. Gerald settled in the armchair opposite, elbows on knees, watching him with that unflappable patience. "You ain't alone in this, Terry. I know what it's like to lose family over who you love." The words hung there, simple but seismic. Terry looked up, searching Gerald's face. There it was, a flicker, not pity, but recognition. "You?" Gerald nodded, sipping his mug. "Yeah. Me and Marcus, that's him in the photo. We had 12 good years. Church folk ran him out of the choir. Family called him a sinner. Lost him to the storm in '98. AIDS takin what hate couldn't. His voice roughened, but his eyes stayed clear. Taught me family's what you build, not what you're born into. Terry's throat tightened. He'd always sensed something unspoken in Gerald's quiet solidarity. The way he'd linger after fixing the sink, sharing stories of jazz clubs in Harlem. But this cracked him open. I mean, you're always so solid. Gerald chuckled, low and warm. Solid's what you get when the world's tried to break you a few times. Now, finish that cocoa. Guest rooms upstairs. Clean sheets. No questions. Tomorrow, we figure the rest. As the clock ticked past midnight, snow tapping the window like impatient fingers, Terry climbed the creaky stairs to a room that smelled of lavender sachets and possibility. The bed was firm, the quilt heavy, and for the first time that night, sleep came not as escape, but as surrender. Downstairs, Gerald lingered by the fire he'd stoked in the grate, staring into the flames, wondering if the kid asleep under his roof knew how much that key in the door had just changed everything. Dawn crept in grudgingly, gray light filtering through frost-laced panes, turning the guest room into a watercolor of blues and silvers. Terry woke to the murmur of a radio downstairs, WNYC droning traffic updates, warning of black ice on the bridges, and the sizzle of bacon that pulled him from the tangle of sheets like a siren's call. His body ached from the cold, but his mind felt strangely unburdened, as if the night's confessions had exorcised some poison. He patted down in borrowed sweats that hung loose on his frame, Gerald's cologne faint on the fabric, a reminder that he wasn't invisible. Gerald was at the stove, spatula in hand, his back a broad landscape of muscle under a faded Mets tee. Mornin'. Sunshine. Eggs comin' up scrambled. None of that runny nonsense. He glanced over, his smile easy, but his eyes scanned Terry like a mechanic checking for damage. "How'd you sleep?" "Like the dead," Terry admitted, sliding onto a stool at the breakfast bar. The kitchen table was scarred oak, cluttered with mail and a half-finished crossword. A poinsettia wilted in the corner, petals curling like forgotten promises. "Thanks for everything." Gerald waved it off, plating food with practiced efficiency. Eggs fluffy with cheese, bacon crisp, toast buttered golden. "Eat. Starvin' solves nothin'." They ate in companionable quiet, the radio filling gaps with jazz interludes, Coltrane's saxophone weaving melancholy threads. Terry stole glances, piecing together the man across from him, the laugh lines etched deep, the silver threading his temples, the way his hands dwarfed the fork, gentle despite their size. Over second coffees, black for Gerald, milky for Terry, the questions bubbled up. "How'd you end up janitorin'?" Terry asked, tracing the mug's rim. "You could have done more." "College." Gerald leaned back, chair creaking. "Went to trade school after the army, Nam vet, class of '72. Marcus pushed me toward night classes, but life pulls you places." He shrugged, but there was a shadow there, old grief flickering like static. After he passed, the center needed a custodian who knew his way round a boiler. Pays the bills, lets me tinker, keeps me around folks who need fixin', pipes or hearts. Terry nodded, the parallel hitting like a gut punch. He'd fix things too, in his sketches. Urban decay reborn as vibrant murals, fractured faces softened into smiles. "I was gonna apply for that internship at the design firm in Soho. Now, feels like chasing smoke." Smoke's got shape if you fan it right. Gerald stood, rinsing plates with a clatter. Grab your coat. We're heading out. The streets had transformed overnight. Plows carving paths through drifts. Kids in puffy jackets building lopsided forts. Gerald's truck grumbled to life, and they wove toward the community center in Crown Heights, a squat brick building with murals Terry had helped paint last summer. Fists raised in unity, rainbows subtle in the clouds. Inside, the air hummed with fluorescent buzz and the chatter of early risers. Seniors shuffling to coffee hour, a yoga class unrolling mats in the gym. Meet Rita, Gerald said, introducing a wiry woman with a puff of gray curls and earrings like chandeliers. She ran the center's outreach, her hug fierce as she pulled Terry close. Heard whispers already. You stay as long as you need. Mi hijo. We've got cots, classes, and enough nosy aunties to make you feel home. The morning blurred into motion. Terry shadowing Gerald through boiler checks, mopping spills from a leaky roof, the rhythm grounding him like a bass line. Laughter bubbled up unexpectedly. Gerald's deadpan jokes about haunted vending machines, the way he'd belt out off-key harmonies to the radio. By lunch, Terry's sketchpad was out, charcoal flying as he captured the scene. Gerald on a ladder, sleeves rolled, sweat beading on his brow, a god of the everyday. That afternoon, as snow tapered to flurries, Terry's phone, recharged on Gerald's charger, lit up with voicemails. His mother's voice first, trembling. Terry, baby, come back. We can talk. Your father. He's praying. Then his sister, Dad's a jerk. I love you. Text me, and Jamie. Saw your fam's drama on Insta. My place is open. No strings. Terry deleted them all, thumbs shaking, until Gerald's hand landed on his shoulder warm, steady. Strings tangle if you let them. Gerald's breath was minty from gum. You decide your knots. Emboldened, Terry texted his sister back. Love you too. Staying with a friend. Give Mom a hug. Felt like cracking a safe. Small but seismic. Evenings fell into a fragile routine. Gerald's house became a sanctuary. Dinners of gumbo from his mama's recipe, scavenged from the freezer. Movie nights on the sagging couch. Brokeback Mountain skipped for Casablanca because enough heartbreak for 1 week. Late talks by the fire, where Gerald shared stories of Marcus, their first date at the Apollo. Stolen kisses in Washington Square. Terry reciprocated, halting at first, crushes in high school art class. The terror of his first grinder hookup. The ache of loving quietly in a loud world. One night, 2 weeks in, as Hanukkah lights flickered on neighbors' stoops, Gerald celebrated everything. A mosaic man, the air thickened. They were washing dishes, suds bubbling, Terry's hip brushing Gerald's as he reached for a plate. Time stuttered. Gerald's hand stilled, water dripping, and he turned, eyes locking with Terry's, pupils dark pools reflecting the overhead bulb. Kid, Gerald murmured, voice husky, you gotta know this ain't just charity. Terry's heart thundered, suds forgotten. Then what is it? Gerald's thumb traced Terry's jaw, rough against smooth, a spark jumping. Something real. If you'll have it. The kiss was inevitable, slow as molasses, tasting of dish soap and unspoken longing. Gerald's arms enveloped him, solid as the brownstone walls, and Terry melted into it, fingers threading through that salt and pepper beard. It wasn't fireworks. It was hearth fire, warm, enduring, chasing shadows from corners long cold. But dawn brought doubts. whispering like wind through cracks. Was this rebound? Pity dressed as passion? Terry lay awake that night. Gerald snores a distant rumble from the master bedroom, staring at the ceiling's water stains. Downstairs, the key on the hook glinted, a talisman, or a tether. Winter deepened its claws into Brooklyn. January's bite sharper than December's tease, blanketing the burrow in ice that cracked underfoot like fragile egos. Terry's days at the center stretched into a mosaic of purpose, leading art workshops for at-risk teens, his sketches evolving from solitary vents to collaborative bursts of color, graffiti hearts, protest fists laced with glitter. Gerald watched from the sidelines, pride swelling in his chest like yeast in dough, but beneath it, undercurrent stirred, turbulent as the East River in storm. Their nights wove intimacy's thread tighter. After lights out, Gerald's bed became shared territory. Terry's lean frame curling into the older man's bulk, skin on skin a language of reassurance. Gerald's touches were reverent, mapping scars both seen and unseen. The faded burn on Terry's forearm from a childhood mishap, the invisible welts of rejection. "You're a gift," Gerald would whisper into the dark, lips brushing Terry's temple. And for stolen hours, Terry believed it, believed in the curve of Gerald's smile over morning coffee, the way he'd hum "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" while fixing Terry's busted laptop. Yet fissures formed, subtle as hairline cracks in porcelain. Terry's phone, once silenced, now pinged with overtures. His mother's emails, laced with scripture and pleas. "Come for Epiphany. Let God heal us." Job leads from old classmates, tempting him toward independence. And Jamie, persistent as kudzu, slid into DMs with shirtless selfies and, "Remember that night in the Hamptons?" Terry blocked him, but the echo lingered, a siren song of youth's reckless freedom. Gerald felt it too, the shift like a draft through sealed windows. At 47, he'd learned love's ledger balanced precariously. Marcus's ghost a perpetual audit, tallying joys against losses. Terry was sunlight after eclipse, but youth's velocity unnerved him. "You plannin' on stayin'?" he asked one evening, casual as passing the salt, but his knuckles whitened around the fork. Terry paused, fork midway to mouth, gumbo steaming. "Here? With you." The words hung, vulnerable. "Yeah. If that's okay." Gerald's relief was an exhale, pulling Terry across the table into a kiss that tasted of spice and certainty. "More than okay, darlin'. It's home." But home, as Terry learned, was a jealous sentinel. The betrayal brewed not from without, but within the center's walls, a whisper network of well-meaning meddlers. Rita, bless her, meant to help, forwarding Terry's portfolio to a contact at a midtown agency, securing an interview. "This could be your ticket, Mijo. Don't waste your light here mopping floors." The interview loomed like a double-edged blade, a chance to stand on his own, but a severance from the man who'd handed him his footing. Terry agonized, pacing Gerald's living room, sketchpad abandoned. "What if I suck? What if it's a dead end?" Gerald drew him down, hands framing Terry's face. "You shine, kid. Always have. Go. See what the world's got for you." His voice steady, but eyes betrayed the tremor, fear of echoes, of loving and losing again. The agency was a glass airy in Flatiron, all exposed brick and MacBooks humming like beehives. Terry arrived early, palms damp, portfolio clutched like a shield. The creative director, a wiry woman named Lena with tattoos snaking up her arms, flipped through his pages with arched brows. Raw. Real. We like that. Got a spot on the social team freelance to start, but it could go full-time. Elation surged. Hot and heady. Terry texted Gerald mid-subway, ride home. Nailed it. Beers to celebrate? The reply buzzed instant. Damn right. Meet at McSorley's. The pub was a relic, sawdust floors. Ale in mismatched mugs. Walls scarred with a century of revelry. Gerald was at the bar. Two dark and stormies waiting. His grin splitting wide as Terry burst in. Snow-dusted and beaming. To breakthroughs, Gerald toasted. Clinking mugs. Their knees brushing under the scarred wood. 2 rounds in. The glow deepened. Stories tumbling free. Terry's high school zine rebellion. Gerald's army tales of foxholes and forbidden letters to a barracks buddy. Laughter flowed, loose and liberating, until a shadow fell across the table. Jamie. Of course. Leaning against the bar in a leather jacket too tight. Eyes raking Terry like reclaimed property. Terry? Holy shit. Man. Been ages. Jamie's smile was all teeth. Sliding onto a stool uninvited. Who's the chaperone? Gerald stiffened, but his drawl stayed smooth. Gerald. Friend of the family. Jamie's laugh was a bark. Family. Huh? Terry here's always been more. Adventurous. His hand landed on Terry's thigh under the table. Bold. Presumptuous. Terry jerked away, heat rising. Jamie. Not now. But Jamie leaned in, voice oily. Come on. That internship's cute, but you need real fun. Ditch the daddy vibe. Remember us? The word daddy landed like a slap, twisting Gerald's easy posture into stone. Terry's stomach churned, the ale souring. Get off me, he shoved back, chair scraping, but Jamie's grip lingered. Public claim. Gerald rose then, slow as judgment, his hand enveloping Jamie's wrist, not crushing, but unyielding. Boy, you heard him. Hands off, his eyes, usually warm, hardened to flint. Jamie sneered, yanking free. Protective much? What's your deal? Pops. Jealous of the young blood, he turned to Terry, mocking. This your upgrade? From me to maintenance. The bar's din faded to a roar in Terry's ears. Betrayal bloomed. Not Jamie's pettiness, but his own past crashing the present, exposing seams. Jamie. Fuck off. Terry hissed, voice breaking. We're done. Have been. Jamie sauntered out, bell tinkling like derision, leaving a wake of awkward glances. Gerald sank back, mug untouched. You all right? Terry nodded, but the fracture widened. Outside, wind whipped slush into their faces, the walk home silent save for boots crunching ice. At the door, Gerald paused, he halfway turned. That what you want, young blood? I ain't trying to cage you. No, Terry choked, grabbing his arm. It's you. Always you. He pulled Gerald inside, the kiss desperate. A dam breaking, bodies colliding in the hallway, coats shed in heaps, stumbling toward the stairs. Up in the bedroom, they moved with urgency, Gerald's hands reverent even in frenzy, whispering litanies of want. Terry arched, lost in the rhythm, the world narrowing to sweat-slick skin and gasped names. After, tangled in sheets, Terry traced Gerald's chest, heartbeats sinking. He's nothing. A ghost. Gerald kissed his forehead. Ghosts haunt if you let him, but sleep evaded him, staring at the ceiling, Marcus's photo on the nightstand watching with knowing eyes. The agency called next morning. Full-time offer. Benefits. A cubicle with a view. Terry accepted. Euphoria laced with dread. Freedom's price was distance, commutes swallowing evenings, weekends lost to deadlines. Gerald adapted. Packing lunches with notes. Don't let the suits dim your spark. But the house echoed emptier. Conversations clipped by exhaustion. Then, the real storm hit, not weather, but family. Terry's father appeared at the center unannounced. A specter in wool overcoat, Bible clutched like a weapon. Son, we've prayed. Come home. This phase, it's past. Terry froze mid-mural touch-up, paintbrush dripping cerulean. Phase? Dad, I'm gay. It's me. His father's face crumpled. Not rage this time, but a plea. God forgives. Let us help. Gerald emerged from the storage room, rag in hand, positioning himself like a shield. Reverend Hayes. Good to see you. The greeting was civil, but laced steel. Terry's buildin' his life here. Best respect that. Eyes narrowed, recognition dawning. You. The handyman. Poisonin' my boy. The accusation hung. Venomous. Terry stepped forward, voice stealing. He's family. More than you right now. The elder Hayes recoiled, storming out into the sleet, but the seed lodged doubt, insidious. That night, over meatloaf, Terry confronted it. He thinks you're corrupting me. Gerald's fork paused. And you? Terry's laugh was bitter. No. But am I using you? As a crutch? The question detonated softly. Gerald pushed back, chair scraping. Crutch? Hell, Terry, you're the one holding me up. But if you need space, I don't. Terry surged up, rounding the table, straddling Gerald's lap in a fierce straddle. I need this. Us. The kiss sealed it, hungry, affirming, but beneath, the fault line trembled. Spring teased Brooklyn with tentative blooms, crocuses pushing through melting snow, cherry blossoms unfurling like hesitant flags along Eastern Parkway. But the thaw in Terry and Gerald's world lagged, chilled by unspoken tremors. Terry's job at the agency consumed him. Pitches for queer-friendly campaigns, late nights mocking up logos for pride parades, the rush of validation clashing with the void of empty dinners. He'd stumble home to Gerald's, the brownstone's lights a beacon, collapsing into arms that held tighter each time, as if anchoring against tide. Gerald, ever the fixer, channeled unrest into motion, renovating the backyard into a patio, hauling slate tiles in his truck, sweat staining his shirts as he whistled old spirituals. Gonna plant tomatoes, he'd say, wiping brow. Marcus loved fresh salsa. The mention was casual, but Terry caught the ritual, Gerald tending ghosts as tenderly as lovers. It stirred a quiet envy, not of the past, but of its ease. How Gerald spoke of Marcus without shattering. A healed wound versus Terry's raw edges. Conflict simmered in stolen moments. One April evening, after an agency happy hour where champagne flowed and colleagues flirted harmlessly, Terry arrived buzzed, lips loose. Lena says I'm a natural. Might send me to South by Southwest next year, Texas. Baby, he twirled Gerald in the kitchen, laughing, but Gerald's spin faltered, grip slackening. Texas. Big skies, bigger closets. The quip landed flat, Gerald busying with salad tongs. Proud of you, though. Terry deflated, the high souring. You think I'd… What? Cheat? Bail? Gerald's back tensed. Shoulders a wall. Ain't thinking that. Just… World's pulling you out there. I see it. The words were a mirror, reflecting Terry's own fears. Success as siren, luring him from safety. You're not losing me, he insisted, arms wrapping from behind, chin on shoulder. But Gerald turned. I stormy. Am I holding you back? That job, it's your fire. I mop floors, fix leaks. We ain't equals. The betrayal stung, not accusation, but truth's blade. Terry recoiled. Equals? You're the one who gave me a key. Showed me what home means. That's more than any paycheck. Gerald's laugh was hollow. Keys just metal. Love's the work. He pulled Terry close, the embrace fierce, leading to the bedroom where bodies spoke what words fumbled. Slow, deliberate lovemaking, Gerald's hands mapping devotion, Terry's gasps a vow. Afterward, whispers wove promises. We'll travel together, your conferences, my tag-along. But dawn brought the crack wider. The climax brewed in May, under a sky bruised purple with thunderheads. Terry's father returned, not alone, his mother in tow, faces etched with contrition, a mediator from their church trailing like a referee. They cornered him at the center during a quiet lunch hour, Rita hovering protectively nearby. Terry, please, his mother begged, hands wringing a tissue to shreds. We've seen counselors. Understand now, sort of. Just family therapy. One session. His father's nod was stiff. For unity. God's will. Terry's pulse raced. Old loyalties warring with new steel. Unity? You threw me out in a blizzard. The mediator interjected. Voice oiled calm. Healing starts with steps. Son. Gerald appeared then, toolbox in hand from a plumbing call, sensing the siege. He positioned beside Terry, silent sentinel. But his mother spotted the intimacy, the way Gerald's hand brushed Terry's back, protective. Her gasp was an intake of winter. Him? That man? Terry? No. The word man twisted, laced with revulsion. His father surged forward. I knew it. Perversion. Get away from my son. Gerald didn't flinch, but his voice rumbled low. Reverend, ma'am, love ain't perversion. It's grace. Chaos erupted, accusations flying, his mother weeping, the mediator fumbling platitudes. Terry's world tilted, rage boiling over. Stop. He's more father to me than you ever were. More everything. He shoved past, storming into the storage room, slamming the door, breaths heaving. Gerald followed, the lock clicking soft. In the dim clutter of paint cans and folded chairs, he gathered Terry close, rocking him through sobs. Breathe, darlin'. They don't define you. But they do, Terry choked, fists bunching Gerald's shirt. Blood. Always pulling. Gerald cupped his face, thumbs wiping tears. Blood's just startin' line. Family's the race you run. The kiss was salt and solace, deepening until urgency overtook. Hands fumbling belts, bodies pressing against shelves, a frantic reclaiming amid the dust. It was raw, desperate, thunder rumbling outside mirroring their storm. They emerged disheveled, the hazes gone, Rita shaking her head sadly. Handled it. Go home. Heal. Home that night was a battlefield of silences. Over takeout lo mein, chopsticks clacking like accusations, Terry broke. I can't keep fighting them. And us. It's too much. Gerald's fork stilled. What are you saying? I'm saying. Maybe space. To sort my head. The words tasted like ash, but necessity propelled them. Not forever. Just air. Betrayal etched Gerald's features, deep as new lines. Space. Right. He stood, clearing plates with mechanical clinks. Guest room's yours. Keys still on the hook. Terry retreated upstairs. The doors click a echo of that snowy night. Alone, he curled under the quilt, phone glowing with his sister's text. Parents wrecked. But I'm here. Always. Tears soaked the pillow, the house creaking around him like a grieving ship. Days blurred into a numb haze. Terry crashing at the center's spare office. Job a blur of deadlines. Gerald a ghost in the halls. Nods exchanged, but touches withheld. The agency buzzed with South by Southwest prep. Lena clapping his back. You're killing it, kid. Solo trip. Network like hell. Terry nodded, but the thrill hollowed. Nights. He wandered Gerald's neighborhood, past the brownstone where lights burned late, imagining the man inside nursing a beer, jazz low on the stereo. Guilt gnawed. Had he betrayed the hand that saved him? Used love as ladder, then kicked it away? The breaking point came mid-June, heat wave sticky as regret. A client dinner ran late, steaks and schmoozing, colleagues toasting Terry's pitches. Jamie materialized. Of course, networking as cover, his hand on Terry's knee under the tablecloth. Missed this, he purred, breath hot with scotch. Disgust surged. Terry bolted, hailing a cab to bed Stewie, heart pounding. The brownstone loomed, porch light mocking. He pounded the door, fists raw. Gerald answered in boxers and tee, eyes widening. Terry? What's? I fucked up. Terry barreled in, words tumbling. Space? Bullshit. I was scared of them, of losing you, of everything. But you're my everything. Gerald's arms folded, wary. Thought you needed air. I need you. Terry dropped to knees, grasping hands. Please. Don't let me go. Gerald hauled him up, the embrace crushing. Never did. The kiss reignited, fierce, forgiveness in every press. Stumbling to the couch, clothes shed in frenzy, bodies reuniting with sobs and sighs. I love you, Terry gasped, the words finally free. Love you too, fool. Gerald's laugh broke wet. Now stay. Summer scorched Brooklyn into a simmer. Barbecues smoking on stoops, hydrants gushing arcs for shrieking kids. The air thick with grilled corn and possibility. Terry and Gerald's reconciliation was a phoenix rising. Tentative at first, rebuilding trust brick by sun-warmed brick. They started small morning runs along the promenade. Gerald's steady pace matching Terry's eager stride. Hands brushing at waterfront benches overlooking Manhattan's skyline. A glittering tease of futures untethered. Terry confided the full Jamie debacle that first week. Braced for fracture, but Gerald absorbed it with a nod. Ghosts again. We all got M. Just don't let M squat. He shared more of Marcus too. Letters burned in a fit of grief. The quilt on their bed pieced from his old bandanas. Vulnerability bridged them, turning scars into shared tapestries. The agency thrived under Terry's touch. His Pride campaign went viral. Rainbow filters on billboards from Times Square to the Village. Hashtags trending with stories of quiet comings out. Lena promoted him to junior creative. Salary bump affording small luxuries. A weekend in the Catskills, where they hike trails hand in hand. Gerald's stories of southern boyhoods mingling with Terry's city dreams. At a streamside picnic, sandwiches wrapped in wax paper, Gerald pulled a ring from his pocket. Not diamond, but silver, etched with intertwined roots. No Neil. Just promise. Build with me. Terry's yes was a sob, slipping the band on. Cool metal warming to skin. Always. But humanism's arc bends toward complexity, not erasure. The Hayes family lingered, a persistent fog. Terry's sister, Lena, named for the aunt who'd fled a loveless marriage, became the conduit. Secret coffees at dive diners, her updates a bomb and barb. Mom's reading that book you sent, about gay dads raising kids. Dad. He's trying therapy. Alone. One muggy August afternoon, she orchestrated the summit. Neutral ground at Prospect Park, under the weeping willow where Terry used to sketch as a teen. His parents arrived early, subdued in khakis and florals, picnic basket as olive branch, his mom's potato salad, a childhood staple. Terry approached with Gerald at his side, hand laced firm, a united front. Awkward hellos thawed over lemonade, small talk skirting minds, weather, Lena's college apps. Then, his mother ventured, voice quavering. We've reflected. Hurt you. Deeply. No excuses. His father cleared throat, eyes downcast. Bible says love thy neighbor. Forgot son counts double. A pause. Proud of your work. Saw the billboards. Gerald stayed silent, but his thumb stroked Terry's knuckle. Anchor. Terry exhaled, the knot loosening. It wasn't just coming out. It was feeling unseen. Unloved. Tears tracked his mother's cheeks. We see now. Love. Learning to show it right. She extended a photo album. Edges frayed. Baby Terry in a sailor suit. Family vacations. Gaps where anger had torn pages. Rebuild? Slow? Terry glanced at Gerald, who nodded imperceptibly. Slow. But yeah, the hug was clumsy. His father's back pats tentative, but real, a seed in fallow soil. Lena beamed, snapping a pic on her phone. 5 figures under the willow, fractured but framing light. As leaves turned, autumn painted the burrow in fire. Pumpkins grinning on stoops, air crisp with cider and change. Terry balanced worlds. Agency deadlines yielding to center workshops, where he'd teach graphic design to queer youth. Gerald guest lecturing on fixing what's broken inside. Their home evolved. Terry sketches on walls. A joint bank account for us goals. A down payment on a bigger place, maybe with a garden for those tomatoes. Winter wheeled back. First flakes dusting Thanksgiving Eve. They hosted. Rita with her famous cornbread. Lena Hayes with tales of freshman dorm drama. Even a cautious invite to Terry's parents. They came, pie in hand, his father carving turkey with gruff jokes. The table groaned under platters. Laughter tentative but blooming. Gerald's toast simple. To family chosen and mended. After, as dishes soaked, Terry and Gerald slipped to the backyard patio. Breath fogging in the chill. Snow whispered down, soft as absolution. Remember that night? Terry murmured, head on Gerald's chest. Like yesterday. Gerald's arm tightened. He changed everything. Terry smiled, the brass still on his chain. A talisman. You changed everything. Showed me love's not blood. It's showing up. Every storm. They stood there, silhouettes against the glowing window, where inside voices rose in carols off-key and true. The world spun on, betrayals healed into stories, conflicts forged into strength. But in that snowy hush, they were whole, two men, woven from loss and light, family not by birth, but by boundless choice. In the end, love wasn't the absence of winter's bite, but the warmth carried through it. The key turned not just in locks, but in hearts, unlocking doors to homes eternal.